And what was interesting was, and they might even be showing up on here to watch, but what was really, and I apologize for standing, but I have to do it for the camera.
Totally good.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, I always get the ask, like, what are you doing lately? And it's always, like, I'm pretty public about what I'm doing. So if you don't know, anyway.
Yeah.
But it's always like, oh yeah, I've been in sales for a long time, and here I can sell ice to an Eskimo, and it's like, or those types of statements, which are like, that is exactly opposite of what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay.
So what you're talking about is there is just like the force, there's a light side and a dark side to sales, right? And it's all based on the words you say and the actions you take. And you can be, the Luke Skywalker, or you can be the Darth Vader. Both are effective. Both have their things, but one's going to make it so that other people love you and want to help you and want to buy from you. The other one is going to be used. It's going to be scare tactics. It's going to be manipulation, and it's not sustainable. The dark side always loses, is what I'm saying. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the light side. And the first thing I'm going to say is I call this the WOW blueprint because I have no interest in selling things to people. Okay. That's not interesting to me. What I'm more interested in is I'm interested in blowing their goddamn minds. That's what I want to do. When they come and they talk to me, I want them to go, oh my gosh, that was amazing. This process of buying whatever it is, I sold mattresses, man. That's a terrible job. Have you ever bought a mattress?
Yes.
Was it a pleasant experience?
No, I mean, it wasn't awesome.
Right.
But it's like, what are you going to talk about? It's like, there's only certain things you talk about when you're selling mattresses.
Right. And so I spent years, and I was training salespeople to how to sell mattresses. I spent years listening to really bad pitches. Oh. Every single one of them was a really bad pitch. The only reason these salespeople made sales was because the customer needed the bed. That was the only reason they made sales. So when you get an opportunity to do a presentation for somebody or do a sale to somebody, I want them to walk away going, oh man, that was an enriching experience. I feel great about my purchase. Yeah. And then after the sale, they continue to feel great because you've done all the right things to really kind of boost them up and make them feel really, really great.
Yeah.
So that's what this is this is just the blueprint by which you do it. Now, I'll tell you the story. I had a friend who lived in New York, and he was a kind of a criminal.
Yeah.
He would steal things.
Yeah.
And he would stay around certain areas of town, and he knew that people would leave things unattended. And one time he stole a bunch of blueprints, right, for a building.
Yeah.
It made the news, okay? And he finds out that these blueprints are worth $1 million. So he's sitting on $1 million worth of blueprints.
Yeah.
What does he do with them?
I don't know. Sell them?
To who? You're going to sell them to who? It's public.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows what they are. No one's going to take these blueprints and go build that building.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So now he's got these blueprints and he can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
So what does he end up doing? Putting them back out on the street corner. That's what I don't want you to do with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the blueprint here. And this is the hardest sales pitch I'm going to make to you. We're going to go through this blueprint, and you're going to see, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh, that's a thing I can do with customers? And the answer is yes. You can do all this stuff, and it's not difficult. It's pretty easy to do. Okay. And the thing is at the end of it, what I hope you don't do is I hope you don't put this back out on the street corner, because this can actually change your life. It can also change all of your customers' lives if you start to follow it. But the problem is this is just the blueprint. If you want to build the building, I do offer a class beyond that. But that's the hardest sales pitch I'm going to make to you today. Okay. The rest of it is all going to be about, let's talk about this stuff and get through it.
Okay.
All right. So you worked in food carts, right?
Yeah.
So when you think about yourself, like you've already kind of introduced yourself to me, but what are your expectations for this class? Now, you came in and this is really, you're thinking about like joining into the sales fray, like getting into a sales position.
Yeah.
What's your expectation with this class at this point?
My expectations for clarification and maybe a little confidence, because I've read so many books, like those entrepreneurship style books, like read up, follow a lot of people. As far as applying it, I feel like I have the ammunition like in my the back of my head
Sure.
to sell or to build those relationships. But I'm not actually in the field like doing it.
Right. So you've got the ammunition, no gun.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we'll do is we'll figure. I'll teach you how to load the gun.
Yeah.
So when you do get that job, it'll be much easier for you to just transition right in, and you're going to be a superstar. If you follow this stuff, your customers will love you, and that's an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
All right. Good. All right. Now that I know exactly what your expectation is. Now we'll get right into the nitty gritty. There's a couple really deep core concepts I really want to we're going to be talking about this stuff all the way through.
Okay.
And this front page that I gave you is, if you take this front page and this is the only page you ever look at for the rest of your life, you're going to be just fine. If you follow all the other pages, you'll be way better. But here is where I want you to really kind of pay attention. So you've heard of the golden rule, right?
The do unto others.
Yeah. Do unto others as you would have done unto yourself, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people think that's biblical. It's not. Is it a good rule?
I believe it is.
Really? I think it's about the dumbest rule I've ever heard in my entire life.
Right.
And I know that it's a little jarring, but think about it this way. Are you me?
No.
I'm not you. The way I like to be treated might be completely different from the way you like to be treated.
Yes.
And if you've ever been to an award ceremony and seen the people who win an award and go up and they're like, that is not a person that wants to be treated that way. So really, that's not a good rule. I don't like the golden rule. What we apply here is what we call the platinum rule, which is treat others the way they want to be treated. So however you want to be treated, however you're giving me as far as body language, or if you just tell me one way or another, like, I like this or I don't like that, that's how I'm going to treat you, because I think that that's the important, respectful thing to do. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Can you agree with that?
I agree with that. It does require you to have some information on them, and to know how people. It requires experience.
It does require some experience, and it's something you'll as you get into sales, and you probably experienced this at the food cart. There were people that came up that were really shy. Mm-hmm. You don't be super bombastic. Hey, what can I get you? What kind of food cart was it?
Can I not say? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's totally fine. Is there
burgers?
Burgers?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. We got the best burgers, blah, 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 right? So it's like, okay, but if that customer is really shy and doesn't want a lot of attention, you've just not treated them the way they want to be treated. So you probably can key in on that a little bit right off the bat.
Yeah.
So we're just going to apply that all throughout. And you are going to learn something about your customers as you talk to them. And you'll learn things that you can and cannot do. Okay. But as long as your intent is always, I want to treat them the way they want to be treated, you're going to be in just great shape. And then the other thing that always gets said, so we've got the golden rule, which always gets said, and the other one is the customer's always right. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that statement?
Personally, I don't think they're always right, because they might not have all the answers, because I remember suggesting different things for them, and them not knowing what they wanted, and I suggesting something, and then them being super satisfied with what I just gave them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Apple follows that philosophy all the time. Mm. The customer's not always right. The customer most of the time is dumb. Mm. And I appreciate that. I love the fact that our customers are ignorant. You know why? It gives me a job.
Yeah.
If they could make burgers on their own that were just as awesome as your burgers, guess where they'd go? Home and make burgers by themselves and save money.
Yeah.
They enjoy coming to you, getting your burger, because you're the expert on burgers. Okay. The other thing is, if a customer comes in and says, hey, it's a buy one, get one free burger day. If the customer's always right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I don't like the customer's always right thing, because I've had too many customers that were wrong, dead wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what do you do in this case? Because they got to be right. That's our philosophy. So it's not that. The customer always comes first. So whatever we're doing, it's customer first always. meaning if the customer needs to have a service done, it's the customer's. We got to take care of the customer before we take care of anything else. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
And that's a better philosophy anyway. That's really what customers are really on. All right, good. So we've got the platinum rule. Customers always come first. And then let's talk about what sales is. And I think we talked about this a little bit before the video started. Who are salespeople?
Somebody, I mean, the way I see them, somebody employed by a company to like, they're the middleman between the guy buying the product to the customer receiving the product.
Yeah, that's a pretty good definition, actually. Yeah, you're kind of the middleman. I don't like that. I mean, it's a good description. I like to think a little bit more nobly than that.
Yeah.
When you think about like who the salesperson is, like when you close your eyes and you picture that person, what do they look like?
Like yourself.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
no,
like,
I mean, there's a reason I dress this way.
Professional.
Yeah.
And like, willing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Should listen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'll expand this even further. Everyone's a salesperson. Are you married?
No.
No?
Not married.
You ever had a girlfriend?
Yes.
You're in sales. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
Kids come out of the womb salespeople.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they're trying to convince us to feed them, to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
Take care of them. God, so exhausting. But we're all salespeople. We all are either selling or being sold at all times. You go to Starbucks, they're selling to you, right? And you're still selling to whomever you're talking to when in your job. So whether it's selling burgers or it's selling, yourself into a job, that's the one that most people tend to forget is we're trying to sell ourselves into a position at a company, right?
Yeah.
And so that's sales. And when we try to stop making sales a negative thing, when we start to make it a positive thing, I almost wish we could find a different word for it. Because I think that it's a art form that, if done properly, is super effective in all parts of life. So when you think of who a salesperson is, it's you, man. Like, look in the mirror. You're a salesperson.
Yeah.
Now, how would you define what a salesperson does?
I mean, it always has to be, like, for me, it always has to be put in a positive light. That's kind of why I see that as a bad. I mean, that's where ethics comes into play, right? You always have to like play to the company because you're employed by them, so you kind of have to. You're on the company side. You're on the customer side, but you also have to advocate for the company's product. So that's why. It's tough, like car sales. I don't personally think I could do a used car sales unless you had guys that picked out great cars.
Yeah. You should never work for a company you don't feel confident with the product you're selling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right, and we want to paint it in a positive light. And I hear all sorts of different definitions on what sales is and those types of things. Really, when we break it down to its very core, our job as salespeople is to build the confidence of the customer to a point where they can make a decision. You can write that down.
Awesome,
yeah. And that's exactly what we do. I don't care if the customer says no to me. I want the customer to confidently say no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. If I get done with my sales presentation and the customer goes, "Oh, no, not for me," I'm like, great. I did everything I was supposed to do in the sales presentation to empower you to be able to say no.
Okay.
And that's an okay thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to sell 100%. I don't care what any of your friends in sales talk about, like, I close 100%. They don't.
Yeah.
And most of the time, what they don't tell you is how many returns they get, or how many times a customer cancels on them, or how many times blah, blah, blah. Because if you forcibly get somebody to make a decision, they bolt. And it's a bad taste in their mouth. And that's why people have a bad feeling about salespeople.
Uh,
I've actually had people who have said no to me, who have come back and told me their great stories that they had at a different place. Is that interesting?
that's not good. Oh wait,
it is good.
Oh, wait.
So they felt so good with me that they were willing to come back and tell me that they found a product someplace else. But you know what that did? That kept that line of communication open. Is that customer dead to me? No, that's a possible referral.
So can I recap what you just said?
Yeah, go for it.
So you're saying the customer came back to you and said they found a better product somewhere else?
They ended up buying a product someplace else. I'm not saying the product
came
was
back
better.
To tell you that?
Yeah. Because I had built such a good, what we call rapport with the customer, that they were willing to come back. But that is future referral business.
Oh, I see.
And look, does anybody have better product than I do? Does anybody have better sales presentations than I do?
Depends on you, right?
No, the answer is no. No one has better than what you do. If you have a competitor that has better product, if you have a competitor that offers better services, go work for that competitor.
Oh.
Don't work for a company that you feel is subpar. That is never a good option. Always go for the best. When I worked for an electronics retailer, I worked for the best electronics retailer. When I worked for a local appliance store, I worked for the best local appliance store. When I worked in the mattress industry, I worked for the best mattress company. Don't settle for second best, because you're just going to be second best always. So yeah, people went and they bought products from other companies, but as long as I kept that line of communication, when that product failed or that product didn't fulfill, guess where they came? Right back. So build the customer's confidence to a point where they can just make a decision.
It doesn't. Okay, just a decision.
Just a decision.
Yes or no.
And I'll tell you, if you do it right, if you follow what I'm telling you, and you do it right, they'll say yes far more than they say no.
All right.
Trust me. Yeah. I know this is kind of much different. We have to change our philosophies, because it's not like before. Like 20 years ago, you might have had the only flower shop in town, right? Yeah. Now there's 1-800-Flowers, and how easy is it to just call or get on your phone and order flowers? It's so much easier, and you don't have to deal with a smarmy salesperson. Yes. So we have to stop being the smarmy salespeople, right? So we have to make it a much better experience. Good. Okay. And why this class can help you is, again, it's just going to give you the blueprint so that when you're talking to a customer, you're able to follow these two core concepts and be able to build the customer's confidence. That's really what this class is all about. So you're just going to have tools to be able to do that. You're going to have awareness of the tools. And the awareness of the tools is that's like 25% of what it is. But I will say that most of the time what happens is, and I experienced this with my daughter, is she made all the notes, wrote down all the stuff, and this paper has been sitting in the back of my car for the last week, and 2 weeks, because I didn't do 4th of July. So let's just get right into it. So we're going to do something called S.E.L.L, and it's an acronym for show up, engage, listen, and lead. Okay. And this is my business partner came up with this, and I think it's lovely. I think it's wonderful. So show up means you show up prepared. If I had shown up today and I was like, I forgot to make all the printouts, and I was like, I didn't bring my cord for the computer, and I was like, I forgot what half the content was, you'd probably be like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever sat through, right? Right now, it's maybe not the best thing you've ever sat through, but it might be towards the end. So you always want to make sure that you're very prepared, and that is not just for the company that you work for. It's not just being prepared for them, it's also being prepared for you personally. And we're going to start by talking about intentions. And when we're in sales, like, we have to set an intention. Do you know what I mean by that? It's okay if you don't.
Can I make a comparison?
Yeah, please do.
like you got to go in there with a game plan. Like I'm gonna close today. Like that's my like I'm gonna get like 90% closes today. You know, you got like I guess it's psyching yourself up. That's what I would think it was. Like
It's a little bit of psyching yourself up. You know, you mentioned confidence earlier,
yeah.
and that is the number one thing we need. Can you trust somebody in what they're saying if they're not confident in what they're saying?
Definitely not. I've had that experience before. So,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
So like if I was standing here and I was like, I don't know, like you should maybe make your customer confident. You'd probably be like, I don't know what this guy is even saying. He's mumbling. That's not helpful. You want to exude confidence to your customer so that your customer has confidence in you. But how do you get to that point where you can exude confidence? You have to actually have it. You can't fake it for too long.
Yeah.
Now people pick you apart pretty quick when you're faking confidence. You can do it for a little bit, but at a certain point, like they catch on. So we want to make sure that we're actually confident before we even go in for sales. Okay. And there are 3 statements, a mission statement, a vision statement, and a values statement that you'd be surprised how many companies don't actually have. They should have them, but I think it's even more important you as an individual have them. So when, do you know what these 3 things are? Have you ever heard of this?
Yes, I've heard of them. I've read a lot.
Oh yeah, you've read a lot of sales books, right? Or a lot of books and entrepreneur books.
I've read actually like whenever I look at companies, I always go to their vision statement, all their values and all that
Great.
stuff.
Yeah, it's a great idea, especially if you're thinking about like, oh, I'm going to go work for this company. Go look and see if they have a mission, vision, and values statement. Yeah. I've worked for companies that I did not have a great experience with. Guess why? They didn't have this stuff. And it's crazy how many companies don't. But even individuals need to have them. Do you have these 3 things for yourself?
They're not clear.
Yeah.
They're there. They're just not. I haven't like actually took the time to be like, yeah. But you know, I take on every single company I work for. I take on, you know, there's honesty, teamwork, like integrity. All that has to be there.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And you've had experiences where they weren't there, right?
Yes.
And
I've had experiences where they post, you know, like there's the company I currently work for. There's a huge thing called, they have this huge banner, continuous improvement, like right in front of the door. But the company, it's not that way. And that's when they do. It's very easy to tell that they're not about continuous improvement because it's similar to Intel. I've been a company like that. I see that they follow through with everything, but then it depends on the people in there. Like, there's all the military members in there, so I felt like the culture was really good. Like, it was like they actually followed through with it at this particular company I worked at. You know, and it was,
okay, yeah, yeah. I think it's really important, even just having them posted. Posting these statements is good. Living the statements are better, right? Like that's great, is if you can live the statements. And I have worked for companies that had a very, very rich, all about integrity, honesty, blah, blah, blah. But none of the owners followed it. Yeah. So it was kind of a joke, which is not exactly what you want for your mission statement. So just to recap real quick, and what's a mission statement? How would you describe a mission statement?
Basically, it's just like a 1 or 2 like sentence. I forgot what it was exactly.
It's what you do. This is my mission statement. My mission is to my mission is to help businesses and individuals achieve their next level of success in a sustainable way. I want them to get to that next level, whatever it is, and then stay there. That's my goal. Yeah. That's pretty good. It's a nice, simple, that's my mission statement. Yes. So that's what that is. A mission statement is what you do. A vision statement is, if I'm happy with one person in my class every time, would I be a really good sales trainer?
Oh, no.
No, I'd be a rotten sales trainer. I am very happy you're here. I'm ecstatic that you're here. You get all the attention, which is kind of great.
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I hate to tell you this, but it's actually better when there's a classroom of people. Yeah. The reason is because you get cross-pollination, and what you say that person might catch up on, and it's much more exciting. And that's what I hope to achieve, is to get to that. And then from there, I want to be able to talk to lots and lots of people, because I think the more people get to talk to each other on these same ideas, the more the connections get made. And that's good, solid, organic networking. And I love it. Okay. But for right now, I'll be happy with you being here. So the vision statement is what I want this to be, right? Okay. And so where is it you want to go? What is it you want to be doing? I want to be the foremost training arm of most companies in the Pacific Northwest. I want people to come to me and go, we need a training program, and I can develop one for them that it's customized and be able to implement it for them in a way that works for their people and for their company. That is my vision, is that's what's going to happen with this company. And then value statement, and this is the one that you probably had a hard time with some of the companies, is because this is how we're going to do it in a way that how we're going to do it, how we're going to conduct ourselves while we're doing this. So when we're doing our mission statement, we're going to do it this way. So those are the words where integrity or honesty or whatever those types of things, that's when you're going to talk about that, is you're going to make sure that as you're conducting the mission statement on your way to the goal of the vision statement, that's how you're going to do it. So it's good. All right, good. So I think everybody should have those for themselves. I think that's really important. And they change, based on what you're doing. They change. For sure. Who is it you want to work with? And we talk about this as like your target audience. Who is it that you really want to work with? And right now, you probably don't know, because do you know who you want to work with?
At this point in my life, my experiences, I don't really want to work with kids right now. Mm-hmm. At this point in my life, not because I don't think I'm a strong enough person to handle them. And it depends on what I'm trying to, if I'm coaching them, like in sports or something, that's a different story. I would want to get to that someday, like in high school, age range. Sure. Depends on what you're good at. I don't have that skill set yet. Right. Or it's not like all the kinks aren't worked out yet. Yeah. I want to actually help people out. It's like solving solutions, like solving people's problems. Yeah. And, food to me, that's just a quick, like, hey, like they come and it's just, I've been in the food industry for 7 years, so it's really easy for me to like quickly, like, all right, what does this customer want? Get them on their way. Like quality, consistency, and speed. That's like that is my value statement: quality, consistency, and speed.
There you go.
As far as food goes, that's where I focus on. Oh my God, sorry.
No, that's fine. You want to write it down? Go for it.
It's already.
Okay, good. Good.
But yeah, I don't have a target audience yet.
No.
Who I always want to work with. I do want to work with people who are very like driven by who are aggressive with their goals. But at the same time, I'm not aggressive with my goals at this point. I used to be, not very much anymore. That's why I don't think I have the right to coach others, and I myself have not reached my own goals. I
totally understand.
Yeah.
And it's whatever, and it's tough right now because right now your target audience is hungry people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people who want a good burger. That's who your target audience is right now.
Yeah.
As you move into whatever position you decide to move into, or even if you stay, it's really understanding who it is that likes your particular product and really targeting yourself towards that. And the reason and it seems like limiting, doesn't it? Like, I'm only going to target those people. Mm. And the reason you're targeting those people is because those are the people most likely going to buy from you.
Yeah.
And so by targeting them, you start to revolve your entire presentation, including marketing and advertising, all the other things, into talking to that person. And so you're probably going to get that person to come to you. Mm. And by knowing that person, you'll be able to talk to them in a way. So remember, we talked about you have to treat others the way they want to be treated. Yeah. What better way to understand that person than to make sure you're talking specifically to that person? Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
All right. So what is it you're selling? If it's a product or a service, you get actually a mix between the two.
Yeah.
I feel food industry is definitely product and service. And the question is, how well do you know it? 7 years in the industry, how well do you know it?
Whatever questions get thrown at me as far as nutritional stuff,
Yeah.
like the things that they worry about,
Yeah.
I can usually rebuttal like really quickly on
Yeah.
the spot. So like I have an answer.
Good. All right. So you feel pretty confident.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. So when you're talking about that stuff, especially if it's like an allergen, man, what's up with allergies? Everybody's got allergies these days.
Yeah.
When they ask a question and you can confidently answer, that's a big deal. It's really scary when you're in a place and you hear someone go, well, I have a major allergy to this. And it's like, well, I don't know. Let me go check.
Yeah.
And it's like, run away. Don't buy from here. You don't know what you're getting. So it's really important to know the product incredibly well. And do you need to know it incredibly well day one? No. Most of the time, what you need to know is more than what the customer knows.
Yes.
That's first and foremost, know more than they do. And then from there, build your knowledge. That's a big deal. And a lot of that comes from experience, but a lot of it comes from hard work too, just really paying attention to it. Yeah. And just let me know if you need a break.
It's all good.
Okay, good. Who else does what you do? I know there's a couple places that do what you do, but do you know the other places? Could you like rattle off 3 of your competitors right now?
I can rattle off all the competitors. I stay pretty like on like, you have to study your like opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big deal, is understanding your competition.
Yeah.
What does your competition do better than you?
I would have to say, like, depends on which field I am at, but because right now I'm not in the food industry anymore, but in the food industry, it was I felt, I'm pretty strong in all like service, like consistency. I feel I'm pretty strong in all of it, and that's why the business I was in was pretty successful.
Okay.
So I don't like. I mean, staff and like, it's little things. It's like the value things. Like they have their staff, they're staffed correctly. They're I don't know. I felt like I was in a pretty good spot. Like, like we were out of the 10 pods that were around us, we were pretty up there.
Okay. So, all right. Cool. Yeah. And that's really what you want to know. You want to know what you're better at them at, and what they're better at you at than you at. And that sometimes happens, and it's okay to admit they're better at catch-up management than we are, or whatever. Yeah. Because it gives you a target for something to. As far as people in general, what is the most valuable resource any person has? Like, what is the most precious thing to you? What is the most valuable resource?
Work ethic, I guess.
Work ethic?
I'd say work ethic, because like my personality is not really outgoing all the time, but if I'm gonna like serve people, I become outgoing for some reason. Yeah. I don't know why. I just like, I guess work ethic. That's like work ethic. I mean, it's a combination of things, but work ethic is definitely like almost always there, because if you have great work ethic, you're gonna show up. You're gonna perform. Performing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as this goes, I get a lot of times I'll get answers like, money is the most important resource, right? Yeah. And I can understand that. I'll get a lot of different answers, but the number one resource for anybody is time. Time is the most valuable resource. That work ethic is time for your employer. It's time for your customer, right? So if you've got good work ethic, you're working really fast. But if you keep in mind that time is the most valuable resource to any customer, not money, they will exchange money for time. Customers do it all the time. Okay. They pay for expedited shipping. FedEx makes an entire living off of expedited shipping. So schedule your time properly. I don't know if you have Google Calendars, or if you do whatever you use as far as like your time management thing. Yeah. There's a writer. His name is Grant. You know,
Yeah.
I listened to one of his audiobooks, but I did it on 1.5 speed, and I was sweating. Like, he is intense. But he says he hates white space on a calendar. I do too. At least every day is filled with something. It's got one thing on it. And I think that if you can schedule your time properly and you're making sure you're making connections on a daily basis in sales, when I worked in retail, when I first hit the sales floor, I did not have a book of business. I worked for a company that you had to build like a book of business, because it would take weeks for things to process. And if you didn't have that book of business, if things weren't delivering on a consistent basis, you went hungry. Right? I couldn't come buy a burger because I would have a gap in pay, and you don't want that. So when I first started, it was scary because I was just getting into it, and I couldn't, I had to manage my time with everybody else that was on the sales floor, and I had to get up on what was called the up board in order to get my chance to talk to a customer, and that was once every 10 customers that walked in. So it's like, what am I doing with all that downtime? Because the door wasn't swinging 100% of the time. So what did I do? I actually got the phone book, looked around for local businesses, and started cold calling. I would do that for an hour. Let me tell you, the worst thing in my entire life is cold calling. I hate cold calling. I've done it because I had to. And so it was just something I did to schedule my time, so I wasn't just sitting around complaining about, no customers in the store. Because if you're not fixing the problem, you're part of the problem. So for me, scheduling your time properly is really important. You got to show up on time. And this is actually something I personally struggle with. I have a hard time with that. But it's really important because, again, time is the most valuable thing. And people get really offended at that. And then when you get there, set the intention, because if you're there, and this is amazing. This is what happens in a lot of sales situation, is that a meeting gets made, and then a lot of pleasantries get exchanged. Even if you're in a store, you'll see it. Customer will walk in and they're like, "Hey, what brings you in today? Oh, let's talk about the weather." And it's like, dude, what are you doing? You're wasting the customer's time. You're wasting your own time. The weather, they're inside. They don't care about the weather unless they're in buying an umbrella. This is not part of what we should be talking about. So we want to set our intention, and this is really important. If we've established all the other stuff, we know that when that person walks in, we can talk about what is it that they're here for. What is it they're here for? Are they here for a range? If they're here for a burger, you just get right down to the nitty-gritty. Hey, I know you're here for a burger. Let's talk about the type of burgers we can get you. We've got the best burgers.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Are you familiar with sales goals?
The smart thing right here.
Well, yeah, you know about the SMART goals. But sales goals.
I have not done sales goals, like reaching a certain quota and that type of stuff, or you're talking about like.
Yeah. So okay, that's cool. So what I'll do is I'll say this: if you sold $100,000 last month, and I gave you a sales goal of $120,000 next month, what would you do?
I have no clue. That's what scares me about going to sales.
So this is the problem with a lot of sales organizations, is that's what they do with their salespeople, is they say, "Hey, we just need you to do more. Do 20% more." And it's like, okay, how do I do 20% more? And it's like, well, you sell 20% more than you did the month before. I'm not joking. I've worked for organizations. That's literally how they talk to their salespeople. You need to go sell more. Doesn't mean anything to anybody. So a SMART goal is a little bit different. And I do not like sales goals. I think sales goals are stupid. If a salesperson's goal is not to sell product or not to sell their services, you need to just fire them. They need to go work someplace else. All salespeople want to sell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We all do. So that's not the issue. The issue is we don't know exactly what the next step is. So with a SMART goal, it's a little bit different. It's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and it's on a timetable. And a good SMART goal is, all right, you need to take your sales from 100,000 to 120,000. Let's use the burger truck.
Yeah.
And we're going to use that kind of math just because I don't want to deal with real numbers.
Yeah.
So you guys, if you probably sold a lot of burgers, right?
Yeah.
What other things did you sell?
Fries, it's like a combination of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, keep going. Like you have fries. You got what else?
Drinks.
What else?
Those are the main thing. It was just kind of a fusion.
Perfect.
Between all those. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got most customers probably came up. Did they just order a burger?
No, they usually got fries.
Or they get fries and a drink.
Yeah.
Okay. So in this case, we're just gonna pretend though.
Sure.
we're gonna because that's a whole nother thing where it would be like, well, if you want to raise your sales 20%, we need to figure out a way to get your sales up 20%. So let's just say most people are just buying a burger. So a good SMART goal would be every time a customer orders a burger, you suggest fries and a drink, right? That's a good SMART goal.
Yeah.
In this case, if it was like everybody's buying a burger, fries, and a drink, and you want to raise your sales 20%, what else can you add to get it up there? So like maybe it's like a milkshake or whatever it is, right? Okay. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you just have to get into the habit of going, hey, do you want a milkshake with that? Because it goes really great with the fries. You dip your fries in it.
Oh.
And then all of a sudden the customer's like, yeah, I'll take a shake too. Why not? $3. Sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, so SMART goals, that's really the way you're going to get your sales up. And this is actually something in the more intensive class. It's really about setting some of those for yourself. Okay. Don't wait for your company to ever set SMART goals for you because they're not smart enough to do it.
Do you mind excuse me real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
It's out here.
Yeah, that's fine. What do you need to do?
I got something on my throat.
Oh, yeah, do you think? Yeah. I wonder if I should post this on Facebook while I'm at it. All right, let's do this. I got a link. Oh, man. All right, let's see. I can't do this. Oh, there we go. Ha. Copy. So while we're waiting, hey, so we're on a great discussion about sales. It'd be cool if you showed up and joined in. I have comments, so you can make comments if you'd like. But it's always a good discussion. It's always really good. Currently we're on showing up. I don't know if that's backwards for you, but if it is, I apologize. I guess it's poo wash. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to get into engaging and listening and leading. All right, feel better?
Yeah.
Good. All right, and the last thing is, do you look the part? Now, you had mentioned, like, when you picture a salesperson, you picture this, right? And the reason that's the case is because it's sort of like I want to make myself almost like a mullet, where it's like business up top and then party down below, I guess. I don't know. Because it's nice and relaxing. Jeans are actually just a nice, relaxing look, right? Everybody, if you're being casual, you wear jeans. But I want to give people an idea of, hey, I do have some authority, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's fake. It's
yeah.
So that's why I dress the way I do. Because if I came in and I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt and shorts, you'd probably be like, again, you're going to make a jet flash judgment. And here's the thing is that what is the first impression anybody gets of you?
Visually.
Yeah. They see you before they hear you. They see you before they know how smart you are or anything like that. So look the part, whatever that part is. If you go into the doctor's office and the doctor has got a bow tie and no shirt, you're probably like, unless you're seeing a female doctor, I guess, I don't know, but it would be a little unnerving. So you want to make sure you look the part. Doctors look like doctors because we feel more comfortable in that situation. Again, it's all about making the customer feel comfortable and confident in you. So make sure you're presentable. And one of the big things is, I don't think you are certainly not somebody, but personal hygiene is a big deal, and it's amazing how many salespeople don't have it.
It's true.
You're in good shape. Yeah, because if they can smell you before they see you,
Yeah.
that's not so good. All right, so let's go on to engage. And this is where you're actually more of where the rubber meets the road. This is where we're actually going to start to talk to customers and really do the whole thing. So again, what is your job as a salesperson?
Solving the customer's problem.
That is pretty good. That's pretty good. Solving a customer's problem is pretty good. We actually talked about it earlier, though. Your job as a salesperson is to build the confidence of the customer to a point where they can make a decision.
Yes.
Remember that. That's an important one, because if you can keep that as a target for yourself, the stress of the job goes away. Because if you're trying to solve, yes, part of it is you're going to solve a customer's problem. That is, yes, definitely, because they wouldn't come to you if they didn't have a problem. Because nobody pays money just for funsies. Yeah. So yeah, just remember confidence so that they can make a decision. Okay. We're going to talk about rapport, and I'm actually writing a book right now on rapport, because it's under talked about, if you will. And when you think about rapport, and you've read a number of books, like what do you think about it? How would you describe rapport?
I mean, the person I'm gonna reference is Tony Robbins. He talks about just building positive rapport, whatever you talk, it comes every interaction is a good one, so it leads to better, it's just good customer relationship. That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
I'm not great. I can't really define that,
Fair enough. That is 100% a-okay. Like, saying I don't know is an answer. I love that answer. I use that answer all the time. I don't know. Thank God we have phones, because we can find out, right? But rapport is interesting, because a lot of times people think rapport is like, oh, I really like your hat. Is that rapport? It's a positive interaction.
Yeah.
It's not rapport, because I really like your hat does not mean you're going to want to sit through my class for 2 hours. Yeah. That's not what that's going to do. Rapport is really interesting, because it is a positive interaction, but what you're trying to do is you're trying to let the customer know why they should trust you. Why should they feel confident in you as a salesperson? Does that make sense?
Okay.
So when we're talking about rapport, it's when we set our intentions for what we're going to be talking about, whether you're sitting down with a client or they come in to talk to you, you want to make sure that you're giving them a reason why they should talk to you. Okay. So I used to instruct, when I was in retail, I used to instruct all the time to let the customer know what store they're in. Like, yeah, they parked out in front, but do you know how many times people park out in front, walk into a store, and don't know where they're at? And it was especially true for mattresses, because people would go into a store and they'd be like, is this mattress Emporium? And it's like, no, this is Sleep Universe. And it's like, well, now I'm in the wrong place. It's like, but if you do it, you're just letting them know, oh, you're in Sleep Universe, which is great, because we have the largest selection of blah, blah, blah in the world. Let's talk about what you're after. Let's talk about you. And that's even just a little bit of rapport, just to let the customer know, what is it that you're really, really good at? And finding a way to tell the customer what you're really, really good at in a not bragging way, to make it in service to the customer. So that's what rapport is all about. And then we're going to talk about questions. We're going to ask questions, right? Because that's an important thing that's how we find out about customers, right? And there's a couple different kind of customer questions that we want to ask customers. And this part's very, very confusing for a lot of salespeople. Rapport is really confusing. Questions are really confusing because there's really two types of questions you can ask, and there's two methods of questions that you can ask. So the two types of questions are you can ask qualifying questions and you can ask discovery questions. And have you ever heard of a qualifying question? I guess.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay, so when you think about it like a qualifying question, like what's a qualifying question do?
I don't want to say I don't want to say it's kind of like beating around the bush, but it's like a question. Like my understanding is like a question that you ask that kind of figures out it's like what is it qualifies the customer. It's like they have the potential to buy, I guess. Or they have the ability.
Well, that's interesting. What is the qualifier for a customer to be able to buy from you? Money.
Yeah, money.
That's the qualifier. And unfortunately, if a customer walks in and we're like, hey, let me check your bank account before I talk to you, they're probably not going to stick around, right?
Yeah.
So qualifying questions are, again, this is something that gets really confusing. And it's even in the books. Like I will read a book and I'll be like, you have no concept of what this thing is supposed to do. So a qualifying question is if you walk into a furniture store and you say, I'm looking for a dining room table, they're probably going to have 100 dining room tables, right?
Yeah.
Do they show you 100 dining room tables?
No.
That would be stupid. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of my time. If I'm the salesperson in this case, that's exhausting. This one's got 4 chairs. That one's got 4 chairs. This one has 6 chairs. So what would be a way I could maybe not have to show you 100 different?
I guess just like ask what price range they're looking for.
You can ask what price range. Really think about like a dining room table. It's like, oh, how many people are you going to sit?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm going to need 6 chairs. Okay. So do I show them a 4-person table? No. I can show them one with 6. Maybe I can show them one with 8, but I'm not going to show them any of the 4 tables, right?
Yeah.
Do you prefer wood? Do you have a color of wood that you're looking for? Oh, we want a light color wood. Yeah. Well, I'm not going to take you to the dark ones. Pretty soon I'm starting to eliminate product, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever run track or anything in high school?
I wrestled in high school.
You wrestled? Oh, okay, perfect. So wrestling. Remember those qualifying rounds? Where you like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you wrestled and then you got eliminated, or you went on to the next. That's a qualification. That's what we're doing with product or services. Is we're going to qualify the product or services for that customer. So we ask questions to eliminate the excess. Does that make sense? That's what a qualifying question does. It just eliminates options for the customer.
Okay.
So that's cool. So when are good times to use qualifying questions is when the customer knows kind of what they want. Hey, with this dining room table that you've obviously been thinking about for quite some time, describe your ideal dining room table. And I'm just going to ask questions to get it whittled down to exactly which ones I should be showing you. That's great. Now, I sold computers. Okay. A long time ago, back when Pentium was a new thing. But when I ask questions like, how much memory do you need in the computer? Or what clock speed are you looking for your processor? Or, hard drives, did you need to get a 7200 RPM or a 5400 RPM?
Yeah.
Most of the time, customers looked at me like this.
Yeah.
But those are qualifying questions.
Yeah.
Why aren't they good questions to ask?
Because the customer doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So they're dumb. I'm treating them like I'm using the golden rule, not the platinum rule.
Oh.
So in the platinum rule, what we would want to find out is what the customer wants to do. And most of the time, does the customer know what they want to do?
Slightly,
maybe. Most of the time, no. You know what? At the time, you know what most people were doing with their computers? When I would ask them, well, what do you do with your computer? You know what the number one answer was? Solitaire.
Oh, really?
Can you believe that?
At the time, dang.
Yeah.
That's all they wanted.
Yeah, that's all they wanted. They wanted to play Windows Solitaire and get the cards to bounce. That's what they wanted. So in that case, you know what computer you need to play solitaire?
The most basic one ever.
Literally every computer that we had, including the $199 one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like not good to ask those types of questions because it was scaring customers. It got them to start thinking. And there's two things I hate to see on a sales floor or with salespeople and sales interactions is I hate to see customers thinking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't want customers thinking. I want them engaged and I want them buying. The other thing I hate to see is I hate to see salespeople thinking, because if salespeople are thinking, guess what they're not doing? They're not selling. So we need to get away from thinking too much. Find a way to make it very simple for your customer to concentrate on what's actually happening and make it an easy process for them.
Okay.
Easy decisions. That's what we want them to make. So qualifying questions are dumb in that case because the customer doesn't know what they're talking about. And that happens far more often. Have you ever gone to Oil Can Henry's?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a question where they come and they ask you question.
Oh.
And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then at the end of it, the $24 oil change is now $150. And I'll never go back to Oil Can Henry's again. Yeah. They've lost me as a customer. Well, shame on them because they did something not so good. So instead, what I started doing was I started realizing like, oh, customers are running from me. So I got to change up my game. So I stopped asking like, what kind of processor speed are you looking for? You know, what size monitor are you looking for? And instead I'd be asking questions like, well, have you ever thought about, editing video on your computer? Oh, that's something I can do? Yeah. And this computer here has the ports to be able to do that. What kind of a camcorder do you have? And now it started to blossom into a different discussion. You ever thought about, doing this with your, I noticed your son's 10. Is this something you're going to want to use for computer games as well? Oh yeah, that would be really cool because that way I don't have to buy another Xbox. Oh, you're going to buy the Xbox too. But, if you want to be able to play games on the computer, you need to be able to have the expansion. And then I could have those discussions with people. And then I suddenly went from selling the $199 computer to selling the $2,000 computer. Like almost overnight, I was selling these computers over these, and I was number one in the company at selling those computers because I would just start to ask different questions. True story. That one's true. The thing about the blueprints was a lie. That's the only lie. This one was true because I actually did. I became the number one salesperson in the company for this one type of computer that was just really expandable because I would just start asking those questions. So those are called discovery questions. And those are nice and simple questions. And they're questions not designed to learn something about the customer. They're designed for the customer to learn about what you're offering.
Oh.
So you're basically telling the customer what they can do with the item, with what you're selling, and in a way that's engaging. So you're not just rattling on and on. It's a dialogue. And so when I was doing it with mattresses, I developed 3 questions that made it so it was very easy to show a mattress. And when I started teaching that, I got a lot of pushback because it was like, no, we need to ask all of these other questions we've always asked. So I put out a challenge. I was like, just try it for a day. Just for today, just try it. And I would always get a phone. I can't tell you how many times I got phone calls afterwards going, oh my God, that totally worked. And I'm like, I know, you're welcome. Keep doing it. Yeah. So when customers know about the product or they can have a knowledge about the product, qualifying questions are great. When they don't know about the product or it's a very confusing product, discovery questions are where it's key. You can use a mix of the two. Okay. And then there's two methods that you can ask questions: open-ended questions versus closed-ended questions. Open-ended questions are designed to promote a dialogue. Tell me about the decor of your dining room. Oh, our dining room has blah, blah, blah curtains, blah, blah, blah rug. They're talking about it and they're creating a picture in their mind so that when you go and show them, you can say, well, according to what you said, the curtains are going to work really well with this and yada, yada, yada. Close-ended questions are completely different. Close-ended question is your hat black?
Yeah.
Yep. That's a closed-ended question. And if you're reading lots of sales books, they always tell you, do not ask closed-ended questions. Yeah. They tell you, do not do it. I'm telling you, closed-ended questions are wonderful.
Really?
Yeah. Because again, it goes back to hey, what kind of processor speed are you looking for? Now, what do you think the number one answer was from a customer?
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you know what the worst answer you can get from a customer is? I don't know. If your customer is saying, I don't know to you, wrap it up.
Oh.
You're done. If the customer says, I don't know, you're like, well, I guess we're done here. Let me just pack up my stuff. And because if the customer says, I don't know, what can you do with that? A yes is a positive. I can do something with that, right? I can sell them a product. A no, oh, now I know I have a challenge I can overcome. I can overcome an objection. But an I don't know, what do I do with it? I can't do anything. You get too many I don't knows. As soon as the customer says, I don't know, by the way, their confidence does what? We're trying to build the customer's confidence. All of a sudden, it's going in the opposite direction. If I said to you, like, hey, I'm going to give you $1 billion, I'm going to say, and you take that $1 billion and go build a nuclear power plant, what would you do? You don't know. Would you feel real confident? If I'm going to give you $1 billion to go do that, you would not feel confident doing it.
Yeah.
And you'd be freaked out. And that's exactly what we do with customers when we ask them questions that cause an I don't know. So steer clear of those I don't knows. There's two rules I always try to impress upon people in both sales and in their personal lives, right? The first one is never ask a question that hold on, I'm gonna screw this up. It's been a while since I've talked about it. Never ask a question you're going to regret the answer to.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, hey, does this jacket make me look fat?
I mean,
does it make me look fat? What about if I do this? So the thing is can I regret the answer to that?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Because if I say, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. What do you think of this jacket? And you're like, hey, it makes you look fat. I'd be like, oh my God, I'd feel really unconfident that way. Yeah. So never ask a question you're going to regret the answer to. Okay. Oh, what price point are you looking to pay? Nothing.
So that's not a good question.
It's a terrible question to ask because as soon as the customer says, yeah, I'm looking to spend $100 on this thing, it's like, well, let me show you the $100 one that I got that I make no money on. The company doesn't make any money on. Nobody makes any money on it. Nobody wants to sell this object. I don't know why we carry it, but there it is. So I never ask that question. Anytime you're going to ask a question that you're going to regret the answer, don't ask. The other rule is never answer a question that hasn't been asked.
Oh, I've had okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I make a mistake.
Yeah.
Of answering questions, and I can see it in the customer's eyes, like they don't care. Like it's like
I didn't ask. I do not care.
Very true.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, what happens? What happens with that customer? You can see something happen to them. What happens? The little light goes off in their head and they start thinking. And guess what they do when they start thinking is they don't buy because they're like, I didn't even know that was a thing. Now I gotta go think about it. Now I gotta go do the research on the internet. Man. So those are the two pieces of advice. I wish I could I don't know why I can never get that thing to click so fast. I actually need to put it in here. I'm actually going to make that note right now. You're a little bit of a guinea pig too. So.
Yeah. That's fine.
All right. So you get through all that stuff. You figure out like you've done the either the qualifying or the whatever. And now what we need to do is align what we offer with what the customer needs. We now know what the customer needs. Now we need to look at what we do. And this is why it's really important to understand what your product is or your service or whatever it is you're going to be doing. You need to know what you've got so that you can offer them the thing that they absolutely need. And that's really important is you don't want to you don't want to undersell yourself is a really big deal. I would much rather have a customer go, that is way too expensive, and then go, okay, well, let's find a way to make it more affordable by eliminating things you don't need. So you always want to put your best experience first.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like for a burger, it's like, we want to give you the works. We want to give you the fries, put chili on the fries. Maybe that's an idea. It's the soda, whatever else you're offering. You want to give them the best experience possible, and then have the customer go, that's more than I can eat. Okay, well, now we can start eliminating things. But at least the customer knows what is available to them. Yeah. And I think it's okay in your marketing materials and in your advertising, and even if you're doing it word of mouth, letting the customer know, hey, we've got burgers starting at $6, and then giving them that wow experience, the big deal, and then have the customer go, but I thought you said $6. And it's like, yeah, we do have $6, and that's this one, and I'm happy to make that for you. But it looks like you really like this idea over here. Let's meet somewhere in the middle. Okay. And that's what happens.
Okay. Is that a turn off to customers sometimes? Because I feel like it seems like customers are turned off. Like, wait, I thought you guys like posted like, oh, it starts at. But I guess, I mean,
it depends on your approach.
That's true.
So there is something called a bait and switch, where if you said, hey, we've got a $6 burger, and the customer comes up and they're like, great, I take the $6 burger. You're like, well, we're out of $6 burgers. But we have this $14 burger that I can sell you. Yeah, as long as your prices are posted and all of those types of things, the $6 just lets them know if they have $6 in their pocket, can they still get a burger? Yes. And that's what you're making that promise. But what you want to do is you want to ask them the questions, because it's not like you're just blindly going, hey, burgers are $14, and that's the experience you want. We've asked them some questions. Oh, do you like guacamole? Do you like bacon? Who doesn't, right? Everybody wants bacon on their burger. Yeah. Even vegetarians want bacon on their burger. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, we want to make sure that we're asking those questions ahead of time. Those are good discovery questions. Okay. And then when the customer goes, yeah, I love bacon on my burger, you probably got the price listed, bacon, add $2. Yeah. And then the customer can make that decision. And at the end of it, if you say, okay, well, with all of the extras, the burger's $14, and the customer goes, I've only got $6. It's like, great, I'll make you the best $6 burger on the planet. And go do it. Okay. Yeah, no shame. That's a big deal. Don't add any shame to it. Make sure that the customer feels it's all about them. It is a customized experience for every customer, even the $6 customer. You can ask whatever question. Do you want me to grill the bun for you? Whatever it is. Just give them an option so that they feel like that burger is specifically. And the last thing is it the right fit? And sometimes the answer is no. I personally, I even have to deal with this currently right now. I've got a client that wants me to work for them. And as much as I need to get business, I'm going to tell them no, because I don't like the way it feels.
Oh, really?
Yep. It just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't, there's so many things that do not feel right with it. I would just prefer not to do it and spend my energy elsewhere. So sometimes when we do that, the product fits and everything works really well, and we get a sale, and it's going to be a sale that's becomes relational. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But sometimes if we make a sale and we can't live up to what we're offering, or the customer can't, it's not going to work out really well for the customer, and it's just going to become a bad experience. It's time to not make the sale. Okay. Anytime you feel like you have to overpromise anything, like I've got to, oh, well, we'll throw in we'll throw in onions on there, or like, for instance, if the customer came up and said, I want onion rings, and you were like, I can get you onion rings. Can you? You can?
No.
Right. So all of a sudden, now this customer that you thought you had like a good connection with, all of a sudden you can't fulfill what their expectations are. What do you do? You look like you get egg on your face, and the customer gets really upset with you. And then what they do is they go to the next food cart and tell you the next food cart how bad you were because you lied to them. You don't want to do that. Good. All right, let's get into listening to the customer. And this is actually the hardest part of sales. Because you know what? Customers are idiots. They are. They don't know things.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, it seems like that's a counterintuitive thing to say. But I am thankful customers are idiots because it means I get a job. I'm there to be the guiding light for the customer. I'm there to know things. I'm the Tyrion Lannister, except I don't think many places allow you to drink at work, right? I drink and I know things.
Yeah.
But listening to a customer and say things that maybe just seem completely idiotic to us, which are good, and then being able to parse all that information out and be able to offer them something is exactly what they're looking for. And have you ever, this happens in relationships pretty often, right? Is a lot of times, and we're both guys. Yeah. Maybe your partner at the time comes to you with a problem. What do we want to do? We want to fix it, right? It's for some reason, it's in our DNA. We just want to fix it, right? Yeah. That's not what we should be doing. We should just be listening. That's it. Is the best answer you can give to most things. Offer no suggestion. And it's amazing what happens at that point. I'm also a big fan of relationship theory, but that's like a really big deal. And when a couple times I did that with someone, it was amazing. They were like, I've never had anybody listen to me. And it's like, I just made yummy sounds with my voice. But good, I'm glad to hear that. But listening is a really key thing. And when the customer is talking, again, that's the most important thing we need to do. So there's a couple things that we need to do to let the customer know that we're actually thinking about what they're saying. We're concentrating on what they're saying and those types of things. First one is active listening. And you've actually done a pretty good job with active listening, by the way. Okay. Yeah, you're engaged, you're looking at me, you're answering questions when you have something to say, and you're rephrasing and paraphrasing. We'll talk about all this stuff. Active listening is, you're looking at the person and you're saying things, replying back to them and being engaged in all ways. Yeah. Right. Body posture. You want to make sure that you're in a position where you're welcome. It's easy to talk to you. Right. Yeah. A lot of times I'll end up crossing my arms. Right. Uh-huh. And a lot of people will say like, that's not very good for listening. And it's like, no, I'm crossing my arms. It doesn't make me if it does make me less approachable, guess what I would do? Uncross my arms. Yeah. You'll catch that from a customer. Yeah. But most of the time, I'm just trying to find a way to make it engaging. And I find eye contact and nodding and having a pleasant smile on your face. Now, if I was like, that's a little bit more, but if I'm just trying to find a place to put my arms, it's okay. Yeah. It's not saying anything. I'm, still pleasant. I'm still engaged with the customer. Yeah. So whatever the body posture is, whatever you have to do to make the customer feel like, whatever you have to do to actually be listening to the customer.
Yes. Yeah. I've had a lot of practice with that working in a one-man food cart. So
yeah. Do you have any experiences?
Plenty.
Yeah.
The confidence thing is huge because even in the way you move, the way you cook, you can't be very timid. I especially see it when I see a new person come train at the cart, and I can see all the mistakes they do. They'll ask those they'll ask questions the discovery questions, or how you had that experience where you're you're asking the customer what hard drive they want, or they're they have no clue.
Yeah.
Because if I see a new person come train at the cart, they'll ask questions. I go, oh my God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't ask that question. They don't know. Can you not see that they don't know what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I sense that on the, immediately. You can just, I'm at the point where you can look at a customer and do they know what I'm talking about? Do they know?
You'll see it in their eyes.
Yeah. Their eyes are a huge gift.
Yeah. That's why you want to be looking people in the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you've got it 100% right. It's I recently got invited to go to a real fancy dinner with somebody, which was pretty cool. And one of the things they did, which was a tremendous service, and I had never experienced this with a restaurant before, and B, was something I was like, and that is a really scary tactic, but it makes sense in a restaurant, is the person I went with made the arrangements, made the reservation, and they called her and they asked her, "Do you have any food allergies?" Before we even got to the restaurant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, isn't that interesting? But what was cool was the menu was already picked out for us. They customized the menu for us. That's how fancy this place was.
Oh.
And they wanted to make sure that if anybody had any shellfish issues, that we weren't going to have a bad experience that night. So it was like a little bit of a risky, because if I said, yes, I'm allergic to shellfish, all of a sudden what happens? I don't go to that restaurant because most of it was shellfish. But on the other hand, what a tremendous service. They were doing everything right because they were asking a question that was really pertained to it, and they were making sure that they could fulfill our needs and all of those wonderful things. It was just so good to ask that question, but it was also like one of those things like, ooh, what happens if I say yes?
So what do you think about that then? Like, is it like...
I think in certain cases, in that case, it made a lot of sense. And that restaurant, if I had said, yeah, I can't eat seafood, they would have been like, don't come here. We'll give you other restaurants, because it was a high-end restaurant. So it was like, they probably had like 15 other people waiting for their, they had the ability to do that. Okay. So, but at the same time, like, I think that was, I don't know, like, I wouldn't ask that. Like if I was selling computers and it would be really bad if I was like, do you want a hot pink computer? And the customer goes, yeah, I'd love a hot pink computer. It's like, we don't have one of those. Like, why would I ask that question? Like, it's a bad idea. Yeah. Anyway, paraphrasing is a really good idea. And you've done, to your credit, you've done a very good job of it. So when I say something, you just basically say it back in different words. Okay. And what it means to me is you're processing what I'm saying. And it makes me feel listened to. And that's really what we're trying to do, is let the customer know we're listening to you. I'm a big fan of taking a pen to paper and making notes. Nothing feels better than when you're talking and someone's making notes off of what you're saying. It really does. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but it's a cool experience, because it's like, oh man, you're listening to me. Yeah. Mirroring. And that's like holding the posture of the customer. And a lot of times in sales, like, we think that the more outlandish and outgoing and how, right? Yeah. We are, the better off it is. But if the customer doesn't have that same level of energy and we're doing that to them, they may not want that. So we have to make sure that we're doing a good job of just mirroring what kind of energy our customer is giving us. And, find a way to not dress too far above the customer and too far below the customer. Yeah. It's also a visual thing where we want to be as congruent with the customer as possible. Yeah. And that's also why it's really important to know who your customer is, so that, if you're appealing to middle income families, you don't want to dress in a tux. Yeah. It's going to make them feel intimidated. So we don't want to do that. We want to dress like them. We also want to hold our posture like that. So if they're really like quiet, subdued, we want to be a little bit more quiet and subdued. The best example I've got of this is when I was training people on selling mattresses, I kept running into this situation. You know what fibromyalgia is?
I'm not completely sure.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows what fibromyalgia is. Doctors don't know what fibromyalgia is, right? So when people would come in for fibromyalgia, this could get me in a lot of trouble, but it's physical pain based on mental anguish. Okay. It's brought on by trauma. And so people that have gone through trauma don't like it when you're in their face and talking. Blah, blah, blah. So I kept having this experience where I would talk to people with fibromyalgia, and they would never buy from me. And I started asking other people, like, have you had this experience? And they're like, oh God, those customers, when they come in, you can't sell them. And I had one particular salesperson who was like, really good salesperson. He was like Jedi level. So I was like, good, we can have those Jedi conversations, right? We didn't even have to talk. We could just think to each other. No, I'm just kidding. But we were talking about fibromyalgia, and he was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm doing everything I think right. And I was like, try this. If a customer comes in and says they have fibromyalgia, take one step back and talk really slow and quiet and just see if it works. Within 3 days, he gave me a call and he goes, oh my God, it worked. So it's just about finding out, how does the customer want to get talked to, and mirroring that energy. And then always communicate for the customer. And this is, we really want to, when you're saying something to the customer, as you're listening, as you're talking back to the customer, make sure that what you're saying is for the customer, not for the company you're working for, because they no one cares. What they care about is, how is this going to benefit them? How is this going to do this for them? And that's going to be super important for, especially if you're very excited about something that doesn't pertain to the customer. And again, I'll use an example. I worked for a company that was very happy, very excited about the fact that their mattresses do not transfer motion from one side to the other, right? Yeah. All mattresses do that now, but at the time, they were the only ones that did it.
Yeah.
Cool. Super cool. Who does not care about that?
I mean,
single people.
Oh, yeah.
People who don't sleep with another person. So if you're talking to someone and they're like, and you're like, this is the best feature ever, you have to have a bed with this feature. And they're like, I sleep alone every night. Thanks for reminding me. Yeah. It's like, stay clear, right?
Yeah.
There's two different types of customers, and there's two different types of ways you're going to communicate to customers. There's the analytical customers. And analytical customers, you think about it, they're more into the numbers. Give me numbers. What is this? Where does the rubber hit the road with this thing? How is this going to benefit me, right? And so you'll talk, as you're talking to customers, you'll know exactly who those customers are. When a customer came in for a computer and they were like, I need something that's at least 233 megahertz. This is how long ago it was. 233 was fast. 233 megahertz. It's like, okay, all right. Well, now I know what I can talk to you about. I can talk some raw numbers. I can talk about speed. I can talk about all these things. Yeah. And then there's the relational customers that more want to feel just comfy with what is going on, more comfy with you. Yeah. And these are where you're going to start talking in terms that are more like service oriented. This manufacturer's got a really great track record as far as performance or longevity, things of that nature. And at the end of all this, what you're going to be able to do is connect your product even better. And because in the long run, if you're doing other sales, you're going to have other offerings for the customer beyond what they originally came in for. And you want to be able to, if you've done a good job listening and you've done a good job of attaching your product or service to what the customer needs, they're going to be much more apt to listen to you and be open to anything else that you suggest. All right. So now we're going to lead our customer right to the end of the sale. And if you've done everything correctly, it's this part's the easiest part. And this is the part that's also like the hardest for most salespeople to accomplish. I remember when I first started selling computers, and this was the one time I ever had this experience, I would be with the customer, I'd be talking up the computer, I would get all the way to the end, and I'd tell them all the information. I was very amicable, I was funny, charming, all those types of things. Everything was going great, and I'd be like, why aren't they buying? Why aren't they doing this? What else do I need to tell them? So I'd be like standing there like making up more shit to tell them.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't come in hot pink, but it's got this cool beige color, right? Like that's what I had. And it occurred to me, I never asked them if they wanted to buy it. That was the thing I was missing was, do you want to buy this one? And I remember because I sat through, I actually went to a sale. I paid separately for my own sales seminar to go through. And that was the thing I got out of it. Like all the rest of it was like, it was okay. It was okay. But I remember the guy leading the class goes, yeah, and don't forget to ask for the sale. And I was like, say that again? Yeah, you have to ask as the customer, hey, do you want to buy this? And so I got to that point, and I remember the next day I went back to work, and I was like, and you want me to go get a cart and throw all this stuff in there? And they were like, yep. Whoa, all right, that was super easy. And that was the one thing I was missing out of that whole thing. So that's what we have to do. When we're leading the customer to the end of the sale, we have to make sure we're asking them, hey, you want to do this? Yeah, most of the time they do. If they feel really good, if they feel listened to, if they feel that the product that you've offered them is connecting with what their needs or wants are, all that stuff is super important. By the way, just real quick, what's more important, a need or a want?
A need is definitely more important because you need it.
Not for us.
Really?
No. A want is far more important.
In sales?
In sales. And if you ever question that, go ride the Max. And this sounds really odd. Go ride the Max and look at people's shoes. Because people who ride the Max most of the time can't afford a car, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time, that's why they're riding the Max. Go look at their shoes, and you'd be shocked at the nice shoes that you see. Tennis shoes, they're really good shoes, but they ride the Max. It's like, that's not congruent. But what's more important, a need or a want? In a lot of cases, a want is far more important.
In sales.
In sales. You still need air, but I can't figure out a way to sell air yet. At some point, we'll figure it out. No, I'm just kidding. So when we're getting to that end point, we want to make sure we give the customer the best experience. This is where it's okay to hear no all the time. Did you want to get that extended warranty? No. Okay. If I've done a good job of explaining it to the customer so that they can make an honest to God answer of no, great. But if they're like, what extended warranty? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. Bad. So I want them to be able to go yes, 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 or yes, yes. No, I don't need the 14th printer cable you're trying to sell me. I've got 10 of them at home. I don't need another one. Whatever it is, I want to be able to make sure I've got a full package for them. Because when they go home, I've got an experience I can tell you about. But when they go home and they get everything set up and they didn't get that one little component that's going to make everything work, was that a good experience for them? No. And I've got an anecdotal story real quick. I went to Best Buy, bought a car, used. The car is great. The stereo system, all four speakers in the car were blown. Yeah. Right? And it was awful. So I was like, well, I need to get a stereo system. I need to get speakers, right? Yeah. So I went to Best Buy and I was like, you know what? I spend enough time in my car. I'm actually going to spend a little extra money, get a nice head unit, get the speakers, get the whole thing. So I go in and I tell the guy, I was like, I find the head unit that I want, and I find the install guy, and I'm like, okay, I want to get this stereo, and then I think all my speakers are blown. I'd like to get all the speakers replaced. And he's like, well, I think if we just get the head unit replaced, that should be fine. Uh-huh. And I was like, you sure? And he's like, yeah. No, it's not me. So anyway, I went through this whole process, and to get the stereo installed was $386, right? I have a Best Buy card, and I put it on the Best Buy card. Do you know what the qualification for 12 months is? 12 months, no interest financing is $400.
Okay. Wait, sorry, I'm missing something.
No. So what he did was he said, no, you don't need to buy anything else other than the car stereo unit, and that'll fix all your problems.
Yeah.
For $386. If he had sold me an extra $14 worth, I would have gotten 12 months no interest, which would have been a much better experience, right?
Yeah.
So first off, that's what happened. The second thing is he installed the car stereo. The speakers were blown. All 4 of the speakers were blown.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, we'll replace the front 2 speakers. I had to go back 4 times. I was so unsatisfied every single time because every time I went back, I would be like, great, now the car is going to sound great. Still doesn't sound great. So it was a bad experience 4 times. And on top of that, I had to pay it off really fast because I didn't get the 12 months no interest. Anyway, so was it a great experience? No, it was not a great experience. And I wish he would have just done it all in one shot. I would have been much happier. Anyway, that's not to say anything bad about Best Buy. They did make good on it, but it's always give the most thorough package that you possibly can.
Okay.
And if a customer says, no, that's more than I'm willing to do it, do not shame them.
Oh.
And I've seen that time and time again. In sales, a lot of times salespeople, if a customer doesn't take their advice and go with what they say, they get hurt. And it's like, it's just the customer saying no to the product, not no to you, right? And it's not okay to say, well, obviously you're not smart enough to buy a full package, or, well, if you want to go with that one, I guess you can do that. Or, if the customer decides to go with a lower priced whatever, don't shame them. Make them feel happy about whatever they're buying. Whatever they're buying is the best. I like to use the phrase best in class. For that price point, there's nothing better that you can get. For $6, there's no better burger than what I can offer them.
Yeah.
All right. If the customer says yes, you probably get paid up front, so you don't have to worry about that at the burger joint. But make sure you figure out payment beforehand. That's super important. Just get that out of the way. Okay. And then customers know they have to pay. We just want to make sure we get the right equitable amount from both sides. Set a timetable. Again, time is the most important thing. Make due dates for yourself if you have to. For you, how long does it take to make a burger? Like, you got to get that thing out there within 5 minutes, I would assume. Yeah. Because if you're outside of 5 minutes, the customer's standing out there going, what the hell is taking so long?
Yeah.
Communicate with your customer. If there is an issue, right? Hey, we're slicing up more pickles.
Yeah.
It's going to be a couple more minutes. I apologize. Here, have a free, glass of water. Mm-hmm. And then, give them a reason to contact you again. This is a little bit of marketing. This is, once they're done with that burger, hey, if you love that burger, tell your friends and, I'll give you a buy one, get one free or whatever it is. Like, find a way to obviously that's something you have to talk with other people about, but find a way to get them to come back to you. If you can do that, you're going to be in great shape. Okay. Even if the customer doesn't take the offer, and this is maybe not so much for the burger, but for other things, thank them for their time. Hey, thanks for meeting with me. Thanks for, coming in and talking to me about this. If you do if I know you didn't decide to buy it today, but if you have any questions on this, including if you're at a competitor, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a call.
Okay.
It's really tricky, but if they're not going to buy from you today, leave it open for them to buy from you in the future.
Okay.
And it's okay if they go someplace else. Miracle on 34th Street is a great movie for sales because it's a really illustrative opportunity to see when you offer for your customers to go to your competitor, because that's what the Santa Claus does. And he goes, oh no, he's at Macy's, and he goes, oh, Gimbel's has it for cheaper. Go over to Gimbel's. And the management's going crazy. They're like, what is he doing? We've got thousands of people lined up to see him, and he's telling them to go to Gimbel's. Yeah. And they missed out on the fact that there were thousands of people to go see the Santa Claus because he was telling them go to Gimbel's because it's cheaper. Yeah. So instead of Macy's going, oh, maybe we should mark that down, they were complaining about it. And finally someone had to say to him, you got all these people here. They're here for you. Just mark it down so that he doesn't have to say go to Gimbel's. Oh, yeah. Even the customers that did go to Gimbel's, where's the first place they're going to go for the next time they need to buy anything? They're going to go to Macy's because they know at Macy's, if Gimbel's has it cheaper, Macy's will say Gimbel's has it cheaper. So why wouldn't you go there first? Honesty, building a relationship. So anyway, and then just ask if you can follow up in a week. I mean, you'd be surprised at how many people walk out of whatever you're offering, whatever your sales pitch is. They walk out, and a week later, you're like, well, it's a shame they didn't buy from me. They obviously went someplace else and bought, but they didn't. Most of the time, they left, and because of something that went wrong, they didn't buy anywhere. So it still gives you an opportunity to make a sale.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is it. Do you have any questions on anything?
I feel like I got clarification because like I still have to study my own, but
Sure.
it's like a lot of good stuff, like a lot of what do you call it, just like reviewing as well.
Absolutely. Well, and this is not new. If I was creating all of this stuff by myself, I'd already be a millionaire. Like this is 25 years of experience in doing sales, training salespeople, managing sales organizations, all that type of stuff. This is just the culmination of all of that stuff into one experience that if you can implement all of this, it's great. Again, you're probably not off of this class. You're not going to leave here and go, I'm an expert in sales. Tony Robbins, watch out. And that's why, and I'll let you fill out the feedback form. I'll actually leave the room if you don't mind. I would love for you to fill this out.
Yeah.
But the actual class is 8 hours.
Oh, okay.
It's split over 2 days. It's $250.
Okay.
And you get we do a workbook, and all the things we talked about, we customize it specifically for you.
Okay.
And we work as a group, and it's really, really effective. But yeah, I'm gonna let you fill out this sheet real quick.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions?
That class, how often is it?
Once a month. So I'm gonna be doing it the first week of August. Okay. So it'll be a Thursday, Friday, 4 hours each day.
Okay. Do you know what hours?
Yeah. So it'll be 1 to 5 both days.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to be doing it on a monthly basis. And if you just fill out this stuff, I'll get you all the information.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah. So
no questions over right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead and fill that out, and I'll be back. Cool. Oh, no, no, no.
I'm like, no, get that garbage out of here.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm just kidding.
I'm like, no, that's awesome though.
Thanks. All right, cool, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, anything else?
That's actually about it. It was a really good free class.
Free class. Yeah, cool.
I guess I'll leave that here.
Cool, man. Yeah, and I got your info, and so I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And
Man, I'm not sure if I can make it to the Friday class because my current, like, I'm in manufacturing as of right now.
okay,
So I work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every other Thursday.
okay. All right, let me see what I can do for you.
Yeah. So
I'll figure it out for you.
Yeah. That's do you do any other like like classes or? Is it...
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing management classes. I'm gonna be doing even some like just like personal stuff, but I'll figure out a way.